Today, we're diving straight into a fundamental physics concept that governs, well, practically every movement in our physical world. Yet, it's something we honestly take completely for granted. We're going to unpack the everyday magic of torque. Whether you're a total physics know this or just here for a crystal clear refresher, we're going to build a really intuitive understanding of the invisible forces spinning all around us. Let's get into it. To anchor this whole idea, I want you to picture a super familiar scenario. Why are door handles always placed way out at the edge of a door, as far away from the hinges as physically possible? I mean, imagine trying to push open a heavy solid wood door, but instead of using the handle, you press your hand flat against the wood, literally an inch away from the hinge. You push as hard as you can. It's a massive physical struggle, right? You have to exert a crazy amount of effort just to budge the thing. But you grab that handle at the far edge, and boom, it swings open with a gentle little push. The reason for this everyday mechanical trick is exactly what we're going to decode today. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to draw a clear line between two different types of motion. First up, think about linear force. This is translational motion, like pushing a heavy box in a straight line across your living room floor. You apply a force, and the object moves from point A to point B. Easy enough. But now, contrast that with torque. Picture yourself at a playground pushing a merry-go-round. You're not shoving it in a straight line, you're making it spin in a circle around its center point. That rotational motion, that is all thanks to torque. Okay, let's dive into this definition. Torque is simply the turning or twisting ability of a force when it's applied at a distance from an axis of rotation. Basically, you can just think of torque as the rotational equivalent of force. Just like a linear force makes an object speed up in a straight line, torque is the thing that causes an object to speed up or slow down its spin. And that axis of rotation, it could be the hinges of our door, the center pivot of that playground merry-go-round, or even a tight nut you're trying to loosen with a wrench. So what exactly controls how much turning power you actually have? Well, there's a handy rule of three at play here. Three specific ingredients dictate your torque. First is the magnitude of the applied force. Simply put, just how hard you're pushing or pulling. Second is the distance from the axis, which we often call the lever arm length. And the third ingredient is the angle between your force and that lever arm. By tweaking just these three factors, machines and, us humans, can absolutely maximize our rotational power. Think about a simple lever attached to an axis of rotation. Imagine applying two identical forces, one right up close to the axis and another one further away. By pushing further from the pivot, giving yourself a longer moment arm, you literally multiply your rotational effect. And you're doing this with the exact same amount of physical effort. The further away you apply the force, the more torque you generate. It really is just that simple. And that brings us perfectly to the math. Now, seriously, don't let this intimidate you. The magic formula, tau equals r cross f, is really just an elegant mathematical summary of that door handle experiment we talked about earlier. The Greek letter tau stands for torque. The r is your position vector, basically the distance from the hinge to your hand, and f is the force you're pushing with. Because this is a cross product of two vectors, it tells us something super important. Torque isn't just about raw power. It's about the relationship between where you push and how hard you push. And this relationship is beautifully reflected in the way we measure it. The standard unit for torque in the metric system is the Newton meter. It's a perfect marriage of our variables. How hard you push is measured in newtons, and how far away you push is measured in meters. So 1 Newton meter literally means a force of 1 Newton acting at a perpendicular distance of exactly 1 meter from your axis of rotation. Now let's talk about that angle, our third crucial ingredient. Notice how pushing perfectly perpendicular, so right at a 90-degree angle to the lever arm, is the absolute most efficient way to rotate an object. Think about it. When you push a door open, you naturally step forward and push at a flat 90-degree angle against the wood. Your brain instinctively knows this maximizes your turning ability. But what happens if we mess with that angle? What if you push directly, straight into the axis of rotation, a 0 or 180-degree angle? Imagine grabbing the outer edge of an open door and just shoving it straight toward the hinge. The door is not going to swing shut. You're just putting stress on the metal hinges. Pushing straight toward or straight away from the axis gives you absolutely zero rotational advantage. Nothing. And if we look at the expanded formula, tau equals r times f times the sine of theta, the math perfectly proves our physical intuition here. The sine of 0 degrees, or 180 degrees, is exactly 0. And as we all know, anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So if you apply your force parallel to the lever arm, the whole equation just zeroes out. No torque, no rotation, literally no matter how insanely hard you push. All right, so we've talked a lot about creating rotational motion, but what about achieving balance, rotational equilibrium? Let's look at a classic playground physics puzzle. How in the world can a much lighter kid balance a heavy adult on a seesaw? If torque was purely about how much you weigh, the adult would slam to the ground every single time. But as we're learning, torque isn't just about force. And this brilliantly illustrates Archimedes' lever rule. For a system to stay perfectly balanced, meaning it doesn't spin at all, the total torques have to cancel out to zero. The torque pulling clockwise has to exactly match the torque pulling counterclockwise. So, by moving the lighter person further out to the edge of the seesaw, maximizing their distance, they maximize their torque. That extra distance perfectly cancels out the massive downward force of the heavy adult sitting much closer to the middle. It's like magic, but it's just physics. We apply this exact same lever logic to everyday mechanics. Just think about the difference between a short wrench and a long wrench. If you've got a stubborn, rusted bolt, trying to turn a short wrench requires immense physical strength because your distance is so small. But a seasoned mechanic, they'll grab a wrench with a massive, long handle. That longer arm effortlessly translates a normal human push into a massive mechanical advantage. You get the exact same or way more torque just by backing away from the pivot point. So the big takeaway here is that torque is definitely not just some abstract textbook concept. It's an action all around you. In cars, engine torque is the rotational force turning the wheels. More torque means much faster acceleration off the line. Whenever you turn a steering wheel, you're applying torque. Think about sports. Baseball or cricket players hold their bats as far down the handle as possible to maximize the swing torque and absolutely launch the ball. Even mechanics use specialized torque screwdrivers to dial in the exact, perfect amount of rotational force so they don't break delicate parts. Okay, before we wrap this up, we do need to talk about direction. Since torque is a vector quantity, because of that cross product we talked about, it actually has a direction that points completely perpendicular to the rotation itself. We figure this out using the right-hand rule. Step 1, point the fingers of your right hand straight along the lever arm. Step 2, curl those fingers in the direction the force is pushing. Step 3, stick your thumb out. Your thumb is literally pointing in the direction of the torque vector. I know it feels a bit weird that the force points straight out along the axis, but that perpendicular setup is a core rule for all cross products in physics. So we've explored how we rely on torque to drive our cars, swing bats, open doors, and even balance on a seesaw. We've seen how distance, force, and angle all dance together to give us real-world mechanical advantage. So I want to leave you with this thought. Where else is this hidden rotational magic hiding in plain sight around you? Pay attention today to how you push, pull, and turn the objects in your life. I guarantee you'll quickly realize that you are using the physics of torque every single day. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking for the magic of mechanics